Yeah, it's interesting. There's so much confusion going on in this, especially in these past two chapters. Now, as I guess one of the things I'm going to pull out from this chapter, because I'm just sort of thinking about it when you read them back to back like this. The past chapter, Ser Mandon Moore tries to kill Tyrion, right?
Hmm.
And then
Yeah.
Pod sort of kills him. At that point in time, it seemed like all was lost. And then we go even further into the idea of all is lost.
Hmm.
What was the point if you're Ser Mandon Moore? Because why would you waste time trying to kill Tyrion when everything we're seeing right now seems like, I mean, if Tywin doesn't show up, or even if he does, you're talking about a siege that's taking over a castle. Like, you're not 100% sure that what's the
Yeah.
difference of you trying to kill Tyrion or
I
you
see.
going in this, because now we have all this extra context right here. I mean, from their perspective, it's like, hey, Joffrey just left, the Hound's gone,
Right.
um,
Right.
no one can find Ser Mandon Moore, and until the Tyrells and Tywin show back up to save the city. I mean, it's like, hey, Sansa's freaking out about thinking about Sir Ilan Payne, and then you can go back just a little bit to that last chapter, just a few paragraphs ago, and it's like, what was really sort of the point of him trying to kill Tyrion? If now we have this new context to know, it might not even mattered, because
Well,
Tyrion might have died and you might have died.
that's the thing too, is that like even if they prevail, if Joffrey's forces prevail, which they do, um, then that's awesome. But at the time, what you're saying is at the time, it's not everything around them is like this doesn't look good until the
Right.
ghost of Renly shows up. Stuff doesn't seem great. Stannis still has a chance, even though they were successful on the Blackwater. There's still a chance. Ser Mandon Moore is well equipped to think and to see ahead in the forecast of this battle, and to see that it maybe isn't going to go in his favor. And I guess it's sort of like a coin toss almost for him. Like, I was paid to do this, I'm hired to do it, or it's personal. Maybe there's something more. We talked about the connection that he has back to the Vale and how much Tyrion pissed the Vale off, right? And Bronn, trial by combat, killing a friend of his, the whole thing. But also, is it someone? Would there be more guarantee from Stannis or someone else like that? You just caused me to say, is there another person on the other side of this fight that would want to kill Tyrion? And what would that really
Do.
accomplish? Yeah.
Yeah.
He's not
Especially
like,
I'm just thinking at that specific moment, it feels like Tyrion, it feels like the perspective we're getting in the chapter of the past few handfuls of chapters is like it's all about to lose. And we see right now that Tyrion has just, at least the way he describes it, has killed a couple people. So, and if you're Mandon Moore, you would almost have to know that Tywin's about to show up
yeah.
in order to try to pull that off at that moment. But now we're just a little bit into the next chapter. And again, this is from somebody else's total perspective. And again, we're talking about a chapter that is now with the Sansa chapter and the Unkiss and everything that is later questioned by George. So could it actually be that the things she's hearing might not be as bad as we think they are, because she's freaking out about Sir Ilan Payne and she's thinking he's coming for me? Is she hearing things about like, well, Joffrey fell back and everything? Could it actually be could this whole chapter be totally subject where what she's hearing Lancel say might not even be true, right? It's sort of like when you hear a full conversation, but you pick out specific pieces of it, of, information. We see this in politics and everything, right? Where it's, hey, this politician says this whole long thing, but you pull out this one thing where they say this is going to be the new policy. It's like, no, that's not at all the case, right? It's the context of it. It's just so interesting to go back just a few paragraphs, which goes into the last chapter, because now we're here hearing everything's gone, we've lost. Now this chapter obviously ends with it, and George is just taking us through this roller coaster sort of emotions. But I guess it's just sort of causing me to question, what was the point, right? Because they specifically say Sir Mandon's gone, and why is of there's a lot of other Kingsguard members. Why is Sir Mandon Moore the one that's brought up? Hey, we don't know where he is. They don't say all the other Kingsguard members are, the other sort of Kingsguard members are, we know their whereabouts. I mean, they bring up the Hound, but they don't bring
Yeah.
up everybody else, right?
Hmm.
They don't bring up, hey, here's all these other sort of big generals and all these other people we know, but they talk about, hey, Sir Mandon, he's gone. So that means that Cersei would have had to have, which we've already come to sort of establish, right? Cersei specifically wanted reporting on him.
Yeah, and so those are the big kind of contenders. I mean, you have Cersei, you have Littlefinger, you have Joffrey. The King's Guard, right? If the king tells you to do something, do it. I mean, right? I mean, if Joffrey
Right.
says to do, that's one of the things that the King's Guard is scolded about later. And it was like, why did you do the terrible things you did to Sansa, or why did you let some of the things that happened just while Joffrey was there? He commands the King's Guard to do things that are dishonorable and unrespectable, disrespectful. Why let that happen? And they basically say the king said to do it, so we're going to do it. They almost don't understand why Jaime, would even question that. But it's like he has a regent, and this actually is something that's brought up in back in the histories. I forget which king it is, but he wants to marry his sister, and they go off and they kind of do their own thing. And basically, it's like the King's Guard. Oh gosh, they do they listen to the king, or do they listen to the Queen Regent, or who are they supposed to take orders from? So Joffrey could have been someone that ordered that hit, if you will. But really, I think, just so folks know, if you missed last week's conversation, Littlefinger seemingly is a guy who has tried to take Tyrion down a couple times, and the one weird thing about this is you talk about the connection that Ser Mandon Moore has to the Vale, but yet both members, Jon Arryn and I forget the other guy who's close to the Vale, neither one of those members were particularly fond of Ser Mandon Moore.
Yeah.
So I don't know, right?
Yeah. Interesting.